Hello, everyone. So we talked about flash and we talked about lighting. Obviously, some things are easier to do in a fixed location, like a studio or at a venue, where if you're doing a bride and groom, you can set a space aside to take the photographs and you can set up your equipment there. But what happens if you are shooting events like I do all year, where you're not going to really be able to do much about the lighting? I don't have an assistant, so that takes out, for the most part, reflectors. I don't have the people I'm shooting hold reflectors for me. So it's basically all about run and gun, right? So looking at it from that perspective now, let's talk about equipment. So what equipment do I have? Well, so far, I have been lucky enough that my memory cards in the camera, the SD and the express card that I have, they're big enough that I have not run out of space yet. Now, when I do these events, even if they're multiple day events, I go home in between. And because of that, that allows me to offload what's on the card. But I have some pretty big cards, and it has not been an issue thus far. So that's the first thing. What if it's going to be an issue? If it's going to be an issue, you have to have some way, whether you're carrying a laptop with you, a tablet that you can dump things into, or some other device to grab that stuff and go. Now, there are things you can do with a Raspberry Pi. I looked at this a couple of years ago. In theory, although I was having difficulty getting it to work, there is a NAS solution that you can put on the Pi that would allow you to immediately take anything on a USB drive and put it onto a SSD, an external drive of some kind. While that's great, you're going to need power for it, and you don't have to carry a laptop. So the way it would work, again, in theory, is all you would have to do is take your express card or your SD card out, put it in an adapter, plug it into the USB. The system, seeing that USB drive, would immediately fire off to copy that information over to the other drive. Again, you'd have to know how long it was taking to copy. You could use the external drive light to know when it was done. But all that aside, the goal would be to have that all in a little package that all you have to do is pop your card in and go. And it would copy all of your stuff off to another drive, giving you the freedom in the field to just stay in the field. For example, if you were embedded in the reenactors and you were staying overnight with that camp, you may need, depending on the size of your cards, either another set of cards, which is the simplest solution, obviously, or a way to offload those to another device. Now, while I say extra cards is the simplest solution, by having another device, especially if you've got it in a good solid case, to dump your stuff to, that kind of protects you should anything happen to those cards, right? If you've got a way to back up the cards, even with me coming home, if there was a situation where I thought the cards could get damaged, having a way to back those up and something to put them on that I knew was less likely to get damaged would be a great way to go. Now that's from the memory standpoint. So next week we will get into the way you carry your camera and the way you swap lenses. So that's what we'll talk about next week, and I'll talk to you then.